All right. Well, hey there. Welcome back to the Diabetes Management Group, where one can learn tips and tricks on how to reverse their type 2 diabetes and prediabetes and learning some fun ways to. My name is Patrick, and I'm the founder of the Diabetes Management Group. I'm a health and wellness coach, and today's topic is going to be on 5 common myths of type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. And feel free to grab the ebook that's down in the description and comments below to receive it, to learn more details about these 5 common myths. And before we get started as well, I'd really appreciate it if you could support this channel by liking, subscribing to this channel, clicking that notification bell for updates for our new videos, commenting your thoughts down below about this, and sharing this video with anyone you think it'd be helpful for. Additionally, we have an Instagram account, TikTok, I post regularly on Facebook, and we have a private Facebook group where you can interact and join a community of like-minded people who are ready to take action in reversing their type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. And if they've already done so, then sharing some tips and tricks that they've learned to support other people through that. And before we get started in this video as well, I wanted to share a quick story with y'all. When I was diagnosed with diabetes back in 2021 and decided to take massive action and do deep dive on what the evidence is out there based off of science, based off of scientific and peer-reviewed articles, and also based off of what current influencers are doing with their diets, I've learned that there's a lot of misinformation that's out there and misrepresentation of it. And that's one of the reasons why I founded the Diabetes Management Group, is to provide science and evidence-based interventions to people who have prediabetes and type 2 diabetes that are wanting a more safe and effective approach for reversing their diagnosis and developing lifestyle habits to keep it reversed. And the main things that I found with it is, some people say that type 2 diabetes is not reversible. That's myth number 1. I want to say that's completely false. By making the appropriate changes in diet and exercise, and I know that's a blanket term that people use and it's a it-all be-all, but I can say that from my experience and from the stories that I've seen from the dietitians who are specialists in diabetes care, that they've seen a lot of great success in making smart decisions and appropriate timings and dosings of what to eat and when to move to reverse type 2 diabetes. And as I was scrolling along the comment sections for some of the influencers that I've seen on there who are registered dietitians or people who are specialists in type 2 diabetes care, I found that some people were saying that herbal supplements, taking one herbal supplement can cure all of their type 2 diabetes and herpes. For me, that infuriates me because that is complete bogus. Because type 2 diabetes, if we take a step back and think about it, what is type 2 diabetes? The root cause of it is the cells in our body is becoming insulin resistant. And what does that mean? That means insulin is not able to signal our blood sugars to move into our cells in order to use that up as energy and allowing us to move around. And that takes years of processes or months of processes to get to that point. And by saying a one simple pill can instantly reverse everything that went on in one's body, all the years that's happened to get back to a state where one doesn't have it anymore, for me, the science just isn't there to support that. And I hope one can realize that even for me, seeing my grandfather who developed type 2 diabetes and it being unregulated throughout his lifespan, and even taking some herbal supplements throughout his lifespan too, that didn't help. And that's very dangerous in my opinion as well. I will say some herbal supplements may be supportive. And however, in that study, when they put people into a placebo group where it did not contain either cinnamon nor the whortleberry, one in the cinnamon group where they received the cinnamon supplementation, and one in the whortleberry group where they received the blueberry supplementation, they found that there was no significant differences in fasted blood glucose scores, there's no significant difference in insulin sensitivity or in their lipid profiles. And that goes to show that even with those three variables, that it doesn't make a significant difference. It shows that an herbal supplement, it's not enough to manage type 2 diabetes. Instead, it takes more of a accumulation of efforts of other lifestyle modifications in order to reach that response. Additionally, for herbal supplements, since they are not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration here in the United States, that means that whatever someone is selling for an herbal supplement, they could literally put whatever they want in there and sell it and say, oh, this herbal supplement contains this, when in reality, they may not even contain those at all. And maybe one of those herbal supplements, it may contain gasoline in there, like high amounts of gasoline. And it's not regulated, so the seller can sell that and one could consume that without even knowing it. And that's the reason that I am not a huge fan of herbal supplementations in those responses. However, for some of the herbal supplements that may be required in a person's situation, I think that looking at the herbal supplement company or organization and seeing if their products are third-party tested, that's a safer way to go about it, because then, at least with a third-party testing, it can verify the purities of the herbal supplement and if they're actually containing the items that people are promoting. Some herbal supplement companies that have done a great job with their third-party testing, based off of my own personal research and from the health and wellness organization that I'm investing into for my blood work panels and receiving supplements from them, it would be Thorne, Gorilla Mind, and NutriCoast. So those are some brands that I found from my personal research and verified through the health and wellness organization that I trust, for making sure that the nutrients and supplements that I'm receiving, it is up to standard of whatever the sellers are promoting. Myth number 3 is once type 2 diabetes is reversed, one can stop their diet and revert back to what they had before receiving type 2 diabetes. So the reason why that is false is because some of the habits that were conducted prior to type 2 diabetes may have been the habits that caused one's body to have type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. So what that means is being consistent with the diet that one has received through their dietitian, if they have one, or the lifestyle habits and modifications that they learn through a health and wellness coach or people who specialize in diabetes care, continually doing that and learning how they can make the lifestyle changes in response to what they're wanting to achieve and what they do not want to give up. That's very important to making sure that the type 2 diabetes does not come back again. Because from my clinical rotations as a student physical therapist, it's a really hard time to see that whenever a patient comes in again to the hospital, where before they were successful in reversing their type 2 diabetes, but months later they come back in again and their blood work shows that they're actually back in the type 2 diabetes range. It's a tough journey to witness. Additionally, once one has type 2 diabetes, there are permanent changes that occurs that does not mean that one is fully 100% again. And by understanding that there are some irreversible changes that has occurred with type 2 diabetes, whether that might be some damages to our pancreas, so it's not able to secrete out as much insulin appropriately, or the cells in our body still having some insulin resistance, then it's important to know that one would need to take that time to really invest in themselves, invest in their health, to make sure that they are taking care of themselves and making sure that the disease doesn't come back up again. Myth number 4, the carnivore diet, keto diet, low carb diet will cure diabetes. And the reason why I'm not a fan of that is, what if those diets does not fit to someone's lifestyle or someone's wants and needs? Like if someone really wants to keep cake in their lifestyles and diets, there are plenty of dietitians that I've seen has been successful in adjusting how someone with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes is able to manage eating that cake by pairing with some proteins, going on a 15 to 20 minute walk afterwards, increasing the amount of physical activity that they have in order to still have the foods that they want in their diet while also reversing their diagnosis of type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. It's possible. And in my opinion, by taking up some of those diets, it can go back to that past myth where if they take on that diet, they think it's cured or they think it's reversed, and then they revert back into the old habits again, then that cycle continues and repeats. And similar to a used tire, that whenever that used tire is worn and used, and then it gets worn and used even more, that tire gets worn out where the tread patterns are gone and it eventually pops and explodes. And that's not what we aim to do for our bodies, because we want to be able to preserve it as much as we can, challenging it appropriately, but making sure that it's not being exhausted to the point where it would blow out. And in my opinion, taking a personalized approach by figuring out what is someone's goals and how can we address those, that's the best way to go about it. And sometimes for some of those diets, specifically for the carnivore diet, like it may be helpful for some people, but for some other people, they may have more sensitivities to saturated fats that can be found commonly in red meats or other like dark meats, that it can actually increase their risk of cardiovascular disease based off the literature that's shown in some articles, and increased risk of stroke. That sure, type 2 diabetes may be reversed, however, they may have increased risk for other diseases that are over there. And in my opinion, I want to be able to take that holistic approach to make sure how can we optimize one's lifestyle habits to get to the point where we're able to reduce all kinds of diseases as much as we can, whether that be cancer, heart disease, kidney disease, type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, taking more of that holistic approach so that we can optimize someone's health in order to be the best versions of themselves. And then the last myth that's on here is diet and exercise is all someone needs to reverse type 2 diabetes. In my opinion, in those situations, it's true to a certain extent, but what about those who do not have that extensive knowledge or education about what forms of physical activity is out there or what forms of exercise is out there, as well as diet? Because for me, when I got diagnosed with prediabetes, I thought my diet was great, but got slapped in the face and had a reality check when I realized, nope, it's actually not as good as it could have been. And that's why I feel that reaching out to other people who have been in those similar situations is hugely important, and investing into health and wellness coaches, investing into dietitians who are certified in type 2 diabetes care, that it's important because they understand the science and evidence-based practices behind it in order to improve one's abilities and success in being able to reverse it appropriately. And by learning how to do, because if one, in my opinion, if one just receives a meal plan or one receives an exercise program, that maybe that person is all they need and it's great, but what about for those who want more of that education behind it so they are able to take more responsibility behind their health and reverse it? I feel like having more of that education and that knowledge, it's very similar to the story that I've heard before where if one feeds a man a fish, then that man is fed for one day. However, if one teaches that man how to fish, then that man is fed for the rest of his life. Because my goals and purposes, by providing the resources that I can for those who invest into me, I want to be able to provide them the guidance, support, the tools, and the resources in order to achieve their goals that they want. And by being able to do so, I am able to also dispel any of the myths that are out there, misconceptions that are out there, while also taking a step back and realizing that there are a ton of different paths to reverse type 2 diabetes. And let's figure out a way that there is a path and route that's more customizable for what one is wanting to do for it. And the story behind that too is by being able to take a step back and really look at the person as a whole and working with it, I feel like that empowers them even more and makes that long sustainable changes that they can continually make those changes in their lives to be the healthiest version of themselves, increase the amount of time that they have on this earth to then invest into being with their loved ones. And these moments can be witnessing the birth of your grandkid. It could be seeing your kids walk down the wedding aisle. It could be attending your grandkid's soccer game or your kid's soccer game. That there are just so many moments in life that one can have and that it's very meaningful to them, that I want one to be able to feel empowered to know confidently that they can be present in those situations, compared to not being in those situations or fearful that they may not have as much time on this earth, or they might have that fear of, I'm going to be in too much pain and I can't do that because of X, Y, and Z things. When in reality, what if I were to share the new possibilities of being able to do that with less pain, with more function, with more strength, and more confidence to do what one has to do? And that's what our mission here is with the Diabetes Management Group, to educate people with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes on how to improve their lifestyle habits to reverse their type 2 diabetes, and learning how to do so in a fun way so that it's sustainable. And once the type 2 diabetes is reversed, it stays reversed by implementing and practicing the habits that is customized to that person. So thank you all so much for tuning in to this video. Again, I really appreciate it if you can like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, click that notification bell, share this video with anyone you think it'd be helpful for. It really supports the channel and allowing my abilities to serve people with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, as well as people in the diabetes community. And there is a bonus tip I put inside of our ebook, and that's only by hopping into that ebook and checking out what those awesome resources are. And once again, thank you all so much for tuning in and supporting here. If you want to work with me specifically to figure out what program works best for the goals that one is wanting to achieve, feel free to book a consultation with me down below, and I'm happy to work with you. And again, thank you all so much for tuning into this video, and I hope you have a great and lovely, wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.